through this exercise, it was really profound. And there were a lot of things that, first of all, I had forgotten about. And then I know that this, the inner critic voice kind of shows up in people's heads. And even as you're going through these moments and you're writing them down and you're kind of figuring it out, a lot of the time that voice will say something like, oh, that nobody's interested in that, or that's kind of boring, or this or that. And you mentioned it earlier when you were talking about kind of the psychology of it. So can you speak to that a little bit? Like, how do we get over that?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a tough question because it's not a tough question. It's a tough thing to do because your soul story moments, your experiences in your life, and regardless of the level, I mean, there's, if you've had abuse as an example, I mean, that's a pretty high level of pain in an experience. But sometimes the experience that we have had are just the way someone has looked at us, the way maybe our mom or our dad or whoever yelled at us and made us feel like we felt shame. And maybe, actually, I'm not going to go down that path because I'll do that in a second. Because I could, me, I could talk for days on this. Is that we create a meaning to the experience. And we created a meaning about the way someone, maybe someone hurt us or what they said to us or what they did to us. And what we've done over the years is we've created a story about the actual story. So we've got the factual story of what actually happened. And it could be when we're aged, 5, 6, 10, whatever. And we have a little brain. We have, a 5-year-old brain is not the same as a 45-year-old brain. And we process information differently. And so your 5-year-old self has made meaning about, let's say, when your dad yelled at you for something. And maybe in his mind, it's like, take your hand off the stove, right? Because you're about to burn your hand. But you don't know that at age 5. You don't go, wow, my dad's trying to keep me safe. You go, oh my God, my dad just scared me. And the 5-year-old self then creates a story about the factual story. And then as you grow up, the story becomes like a snowball. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And we make meaning upon meaning upon meaning until by the time you're, let's say, age 45, you're going, that story is the foundation of who you are today. And because we made it mean something bad about us or something along those lines. And the problem is that by the time you get to 45, we've got multiple stories and multiple experiences. And now we've got multiple snowballs of meaning about who we are. Maybe we're not good enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not loved. We're not liked. I call that your emotional theme. So an emotional theme runs through your whole life based on all of your soul story experience moments. And this emotional theme has created who we are and how we are living our life present day and how we're going to live our life in the future. We base it on past. And so what happens is we want to keep ourselves safe and comfortable. So we create these fake stories so that we don't relive that painful experience again. It's like a cushion, or it's like a really comfy blanket that we don't ever want to get hurt again. So what we do is we build up these walls and these excuses and these justifications and all of this stuff. And all it actually is doing is creating self-sabotaging thoughts, which turn into behaviors, which turn limiting beliefs, all of that kind of stuff. And we think that we're just trying to protect ourselves. But the advantage of doing this exercise, of really uncovering all of your life experiences and having non-judgment about them, is just letting the facts of the story be the facts of the story. Now, when you have experienced abuse or something of trauma like that, I often caution people that you're going to, and you may relive the abuse that you've been trying to, maybe I hear this often, I thought I dealt with it and I realized I hadn't.
Yes.
And so you need to make sure you're protected. You have counseling or medication or whatever it is that you need to heal from it, because when you go through this process, it will bring up stuff and it will both be healing and cleansing, and you might need to relive the experience again. But often, more times than not, what happens is when you relive the experience, you see the experience for the fact and you go, wow, that isn't such a big deal. And you can unravel the story that you've created so that you are then healed, and then the stories that have followed start to unravel. So the snowball starts to melt, and all you're left with is the facts, and that allows you the space to eliminate the self-sabotaging thoughts, the limiting beliefs, or the crap that we say to ourselves, and go, wow, I'm actually a really great person. I am enough. I am amazing. I am lovable. And that in and of itself is where the ripple effect starts for other people, because now when you're speaking and sharing the story, you're not coming from a poor me position, you're coming from a liberated position. And the audience then feels that emotional connection with you. They feel your pain, but they hear the solution and they go, wow, if she can do it, so can I. And that to me is ultimately what speaking is all about and sharing your story is all about.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I love how you explain that too. What do you think is the one biggest mistake people make on the stage, maybe as a beginner, and help us avoid it?
Yeah, oh, for sure. When you're on stage, the very first thing that you need to do is you need to wow your audience. You've got the highest real estate in your talk is that first, 60 seconds. The moment you walk out on stage is the moment you start speaking. And well, to me, it's the moment you say yes is when you need to start changing that energy around. I'm gonna make a difference in these people's lives. And you get out on stage and you need to ground yourself, and you need to own that space. An audience is there to be entertained, to be educated, to be inspired, to be motivated, all of that kind of stuff. And you need to, the moment you walk out on stage, you need to get grounded and you need to own that space. And the audience needs to look at you and go, wow, she's powerful, she's confident, she's got this. And whatever the first thing that comes out of your mouth, it needs to create, I'll say, a boom effect, in the sense that the most important thing that you want to do when you walk out on stage and the first things that come out of your mouth is quite simply, you just need to get their attention. You need to grab their attention, is more exact, because we are so distracted in this world. Maybe there was a great speaker that was before you, and the person in the audience is still thinking about that speaker, or maybe it was a crappy speaker, or maybe they're looking and you're just before lunch or you're just after lunch, whatever. People are thinking about other things. So you need to grab their attention. So it's like, when someone's not listening to you, you want to kind of grab their shoulders and go, listen to me. That's essentially what you want to be doing with something powerful. And it's often story. It can be a statement of fact. It can be a statistic, but it needs to be something that the person in the audience, or the audience, goes, oh, wow, I got to listen to this person. Because nowadays with our phones, which are in our hand all the time or in our pocket or whatever, the more in that first 60 seconds, you actually deviate someone's attention from whatever's going on in their world to you. And then that's all eyes on you. Now, the mistake that most people make is they don't do that. They come up on stage and they're wishy-washy and they go, hey, how's everyone doing? This event is amazing. Or the weather this, or they thank the host and all sorts of stuff. And you lose that ability for that impact. And then they try to go into a talk, but the person they're already distracted. So you get out on stage, you own the stage, you root yourself, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth needs to be super impactful, and then you go right into your talk. There's plenty of opportunity to talk about the weather or how great the host is or whatever at a later date. And then you move through the audience on an emotional journey in that first, let's say, couple of minutes. And I really teach people how to create a talk, to create a 2-minute talk, or create, a very powerful 5-minute talk, so that you're doing all of that and you're holding the person's attention for your entire talk and then moving them into action. And when you can do those 3 things where the audience is just staring at you like their mouth is hanging open, you know that they're going to walk out of that room a different person. So I could go on, but that's just to tighten it up, right? Like,
yeah, that's super awesome. And if you guys are just joining us today, I'm talking to Odette Peek. You're going to find her at odettepeek.com. And we're talking about your soul story and getting onto the stage and speaking it out loud. Is there anything else about that particularly? And I know you've got some stuff coming up. Did you want to tell everybody about what that is?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have. So what I've done is over the last 6 months, I've been really working on the concept of helping people speak up. And I created a Speak Up 5-day challenge, and I'll tell you about that in a moment, because that is going to be my free gift to you guys. And I tested it out and really wanted to see where does all of this land with people? So I did a couple of live events, a lot of live training webinars and things like that, and really boiled it down to something so juicy of what people really need in order to create massive impact in this world and income using the power of their story. So I put together a 3-day live event that's going to be happening in Tampa, Florida on December 6th to the 9th. And it's going to be an experiential 3-day event where, my tagline is, you're not just going to learn about speaking, you're going to become a speaker. And what makes this event different is where it's located. First of all, it's located at an actual studio that has videos and confidence monitors and stage and lighting and the whole bit. So you feel like you're in a production studio is basically what it is. And the beauty of it, and the reason why I'm choosing to do my event there, it's for a really small amount of people, so less than 50 people. And the point of it is that I want everyone to come in and learn how to share their story, learn how to create that marketing message, learn how to move people into action, but actually doing it in real time on the stage. So that, in fact, I'm actually sitting in the audience most of the time, watching and teaching people how to become speakers, as opposed to a conference where you go and you sit in the audience and you're listening for 3 days and you have tons of notes and now you got to go figure it out yourself. Well, I'm switching it and making this very hands-on. The other beauty of this 3-day event is, and where I'm having it, is everyone's going to walk away with a promotional 1 or 2 minute video reel. They're going to walk away with headshots where a makeup artist has touched up your hair and makeup, so that you walk away being a little bit more speaker ready, that you can take the promotional video, you can take the headshots, then you can start applying for speaking gigs with something tangible. Because the first thing someone's going to ask you if you want to speak is, okay, great, let me see, as you asked me your headshot. I need to see a sizzle reel. I need to see you speaking. I need to see some marketing content, so that you walk away with that in hand and practiced and coached on the spot. So it is going to be, it's just going to be a fabulous event. And you're going to learn with other speakers. I have 3 other speakers on the elements around speaking. And I haven't yet, I'm not going to share who the speakers are yet, but so that you have full firsthand experience of actually being on stage and speaking and practicing and having a practice audience who's giving you feedback, which is so important, as opposed to go do a talk and hope you did well, right? And you don't know what worked, what didn't work. So I invite everyone for that. And the URL for that, and I'll send that to you, Laura, is odettepeek.com/speak up live event.
Nice.
Very simple.
Thank you. odettepeek.com/speak up live event. That sounds fabulous. And that's exactly what I know I need, is that more practical experience and just getting the feedback in the moment, but just having it be real. All right. So speaking of real and getting out onto the stage, I would really love for you to tell our listeners about your TEDx experience.
Oh.
So how did you get from wherever you were to that? Tell me about it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Talk about a story that, 4 years ago, there's no way in hell I would tell anybody. It was a goal, it was a bucket list. And I applied to a really big TEDx, here in Toronto, like the big city ones. And they have doctors on there and scientists. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't get that one. But the process is really interesting. Now, every TEDx process, I believe, is a little bit different. But my process was this. They gave you one word, and you needed to write a talk about this one word. And the one word was community. And this was about 6 or 8 months before the TEDx. So you basically don't know what the heck you're doing. I filled out the application, and I actually had help. I actually hired someone to help me write the application because it was very technical. And so I did, and I was chosen out of, I think there were 600 people. I had the interview, and the interview was, okay, tell us what your talk is all about. Well, I forgot, first of all, about what the heck I wrote. Then I had to make it up because I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what do they want? But they don't give you any idea of what they want. So I came up with something apparently quite profound, and I got a speaking spot. And so that's really knowing, that's really knowing and diving deep into coming from the place of what would the audience want to hear, which is another thing that I teach. It's about teaching people how to get inside of the audience's head